Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Midday News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Uyi Agmofwebe. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nigecomsat. The federal government has announced its determination to revive the policy that bars individuals under the age of 18 from taking part in the National Examinations Council (WAEC) and West African Examinations Council (NECO) exams. Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, said the federal government had directed WAEC, which conducts the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, and NECO, which oversees the Senior School Certificate Examination, to enforce the 18-year requirements for candidates wishing to take these exams, stressing that it is not a new policy. He stated that the age limit for candidates sitting for the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, also called UTME, administered by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, remains set at 18 years. The proposed meeting between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has been rescheduled from yesterday, Monday, to August 28. Public university lecturers, following resolutions reached at the union's National Executive Council meeting held at the University of Ibadan, had threatened to go on a nationwide strike over federal government's failure to honor the 2009 renegotiated agreement. The union's demands include improvements in university workers' welfare, university funding, and halting the proliferation of universities across the country. Following the aftermath of the 2023 general election, political parties in the opposition are still reacting to controversial issues around the conduct of the exercise. Speaking on Global Television's breakfast program, Global Morning, Segun Sowunmi, a member of the People's Democratic Party, says the opposition must redefine itself going forward.
I always say to APC, anytime people say me this, I always say, well, yeah, show me anybody that the APC even has that has even performed like that. So it therefore means that it is only what they borrow from us, the PDP, because whether Wike likes it or not, he is our asset. He may be serving them now. Wike is we own him. We created him, we gave him the opportunity, we trained him, we gave him the ability to be able to have a platform to become mature.
Sowunmi also reacted to concerns surrounding Nyesom Wike, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory's partisan status while serving in an opposition government.
In the end, in democracy, our greatest responsibility is to nurse the one that lost. If we do a primaries, for instance, you and I do a primaries, and you win at the primaries, you got help, you're going to go home, your family is going to be happy, your friends are going to be happy. What are they going to say to me? They're going to say, sorry, better luck next time. So that means that for us to be a good party, our bigger responsibility is to help me that did not win to be able to understand that it's nothing so personal. We're still all at the same. There will still be room for.
Let's turn to other stories for you. President Bola Tinubu has vowed to keep promoting the rule of law, adhere to the principles of separation of powers, and tolerate dissenting views within the ambit of the laws of Nigeria, stating that his administration has made steady progress in the effort to rebuild the country through legal and judicial reforms. The president spoke in Lagos when he declared open the annual general conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA. Tinubu, who was represented by the Vice President, Kashif Shettima, acknowledged the association's sterling history of championing democratic ideals as well as promoting the rule of law. Tinubu implored Nigerian lawyers and other citizens to join hands with his administration in resolutely working towards a Nigerian of everyone's dreams. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has inaugurated the construction of a state-of-the-art bus and taxi terminal in Abuja's Central Business District. The project, being a key element in the territory's broader strategy to revamp the capital's infrastructure, is expected to ease traffic congestion, enhance public transportation, and bolster security across the city. The terminal, which is part of a series of infrastructure projects initiated by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, will include amenities such as restaurants and relaxation areas designed to offer commuters both convenience and comforts, intended to be fully integrated with Abuja's expanding road network to ensure seamless connections across the city center. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo has stated that the widespread poverty in Africa is man-made and not an act of God. Obasanjo said this at the opening ceremony of the Festac Africa Festival at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu, Kenya. The former president stated that given the continent's abundant resources, there is no reason for Africa's poverty. Ekiti State Government has called on local council authorities to exercise fiscal discipline and allocate resources judiciously to improve conditions at the grassroots level. Commissioner for Local Government Affairs, Folorunsho Olabode, urged local governments to prioritize the needs of their communities and agriculture in their 2025 budget to address residents' needs and ensure food security. The workshop, organized by the Ministry of Local Government Affairs in collaboration with the Budget, Economic Planning and Performance Management Department, is aimed at educating council officials on setting up the medium-term expenditure framework, a 3-year rolling plan aligning budgeting processes with developmental goals to ensure sustainable growth. Let's turn to Nigeria's northwest now, where Sokoto State Government says it will investigate claims made by the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, regarding alleged theft and sale of nutrition supplements donated to the state to improve the health of malnourished children. The fund's chief of field office for Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara states, Michael Juma, had raised the alarm during a quarterly policy makers meeting in Sokoto. He said the supplements provided by donors and distributed to healthcare centers across various communities were misappropriated by individuals within the system who colluded with traders to sell them to unintended recipients. Delta and Kogi states have activated their camps for internally displaced persons after the federal government had alerted both states, alongside Niger, Kwara, Anambra, and Imo, of an impending rise of the River Niger water level. Minister of Finance Wale Edun made the disclosure at the National Economic Council, approved 3 billion naira to support farmers in Kebbi and other states affected by flooding. The flooding advisory to the states came on the heels of the warning issued by the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency regarding the increasing volumes of River Niger. The proposed meeting between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, initially scheduled for today, has been postponed. The union's president, Emmanuel Shodoke, confirmed that the meeting, which was previously announced by the Minister of Education, will no longer hold, but instead moved to Wednesday, August 28th. Kaduna State Governor Senator Uba Sani has inaugurated the Kaduna State Skills Development Council to tackle the skills deficit and youth unemployment across the state. The governor says the council will develop a skill development framework, strategic implementation plan, and annual action plans to address youth unemployment in the state. In his remarks during the inauguration, the governor emphasized the importance of investing in human capital to equip youths with skills to respond to the fast-changing needs of the 21st century and contribute to the state's economic development. Troops of the 1st Division Nigerian Army, Kaduna, have killed terrorists and recovered a cache of arms and ammunition during a clearance operation in the state. Acting Deputy Director, Army Public Relations, Lieutenant Colonel Musa Yahaya, in a statement in Kaduna, said the operation was conducted in the general areas of Sabon Birni, Dagom Dawa, Maidaro, Ngede Alpha, and Rafin Kaji. He said during the operation, troops made contact with terrorist elements, leading to a firefight that resulted in the killing of one terrorist while others fled with suspected gunshot injuries. Bandits have abducted over 150 persons and rustled more than 1,000 cattle in some villages in Gobert Emirate of Sokoto State. The incident happened a few days after the death in kidnappers' den of the Emir of Gobert, Alhaji Muhammad Isa Bawa, who was also the district head of Gatawa. Hundreds of youths in the area eventually staged protests after the killing of the district head, forcing the state government to impose a curfew on Sabon Birni. You're watching the Midday News on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When the news returns, 20 Nigerians jostle for honors at World Athletics Under-20 Championships. We'll bring you those details and more stories after this short break. Please do stay with us. This is Global Television, bringing you live broadcasts of midday news with Uyag Mofwegwe. Thank you for staying with us, everyone. Let's turn to business for you. President Bola Tinubu will officially inaugurate the upgraded West Africa Container Terminal in Rivers State on September 4. In a statement, West Africa Container Terminal said the facility located within the oil and gas free zone in One, Rivers State, has undergone a significant upgrade which began in 2021. The terminal is operated by APM Terminals and regarded as Nigeria's largest and most efficient container terminal outside Lagos State. The federal government has declared that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited does not have the funds required to rebuild old pipelines. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Heineken Lekpobiri, stated this at the Energy and Labour Summit 2024, organized by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria in Abuja. Lekpobiri, while speaking about the divestment of international oil companies, IOCs, and the need to ramp up production, emphasized that Nigeria also needs to repair its pipelines, which he said are old, corroded, and expired. The gross domestic product, GDP, of Nigeria has grown by 3.19% in the second quarter of 2024, driven by growth in the services sector. The report indicated that the second quarter GDP performance is driven by the services sector, which grew by 3.79% and contributed about 58.76% to the total GDP. The agricultural sector experienced modest growth, expanding by 1.41%, slightly down from the 1.50% growth rate recorded in the second quarter of last year. Meanwhile, the industry sector rebounded strongly, posting a 3.53% growth compared to a contraction of minus 1.94% in the second quarter of 2023. There are indications that the federal government committee that was set up to ensure the implementation of crude oil sales to local refineries in Naira will further discuss the pricing of premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol, to be released by the Dangote Petroleum Refinery next month. Multiple officials, both among oil marketers and members of the Implementation Committee on Crude Oil Sales in Naira, under the leadership of the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, confirmed that the panel will be holding a series of meetings this week and in coming weeks to hold and talk about the developments. The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) says the lack of proper identification of investors is a key factor contributing to unclaimed dividends. Speaking during a recent interview, the Commission's Director General, Momotimi Agama, said this was identified as a major challenge by the SEC and the Committee for Identity Management for the Capital Markets. He noted that technology would play a crucial role in addressing this challenge, with the SEC working to ensure that investors are properly identified to facilitate the payment of their dividends. Let's go foreign now. Civilians are among the dozens of people killed in an attack by militants in Burkina Faso, local and security agencies say. Jihadist rebels affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group have waged grinding insurgency since 2015 in Burkina Faso that has killed thousands and displaced 2 million people. The latest attack was carried out by armed men in the village of Basilogo in north-central Burkina Faso. Russia has launched one of its biggest air attacks on Ukraine of the war so far, as according to the head of the Ukrainian Air Force. At least 6 people were killed and dozens wounded as missiles and drones were fired into more than half of Ukraine's regions. Power infrastructure was hit, causing widespread blackouts as the entire country was put under air raid alerts and told to take shelter. Russia confirmed it had launched attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, one of its long-term tactics, and said all its targets were hit. The barrage of missile and drone attacks began across the country overnight on Monday and continued into the morning. Now let's talk sports. The Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, has reached an agreement with German tactician Bruno Labbadia to take charge of the Super Eagles. Secretary General of the NFF, Mohamed Sanusi, made the announcement, stating that the Federation's Executive Committee has approved the recommendation of its Technical and Development Subcommittee to appoint Bruno Labbadia as the head coach of the Super Eagles, and the appointment, he says, is with immediate effect. 20 Nigerian track and field athletes are among over 1,700 athletes from 134 teams and countries now in Lima for the World Athletics Under-20 Championships 2024. The young athletes are reported to be competing at the Estadio Atlético de la Vida between Tuesday and Saturday. Several of the participating athletes will be making their international debut in Lima, while for some others, the path to Peru has gone through the Paris Olympic Games. The list of Olympians who will compete for age group honors following the Paris 2024 Games is